Hey there, this video is part of a full online course right here on YouTube called Tofu Mastery. So I highly recommend starting from the very first lesson, which you can find here. Otherwise, let's get to it. Hey everybody, welcome back. In the course, we wanted to give you one gluten-free option when it came to our desserts. And in this video, we're going to learn how you can use silken tofu to make delicious gluten-free sweet potato brownies. Let's begin. We're going to be using soft silken tofu for this recipe, and this is going to be kind of our egg substitute. It works really well with brownies, and you have a couple of options. So you can find silken tofu in these little aseptic packages, and they're shelf stable. You can have them on hand always. This is one option, and then another option is the kind of soft tofu that comes in a little container like this with water. Either one will work because what we want is simply a consistency that's soft enough to be able to cream it up and make our egg replacer that way. So I'm going to show you what that looks like inside. One little trick I want to teach you. Some people think or feel that the kind that comes in these aseptic packages has a little bit of an aftertaste. I can never tell even when I'm making this recipe, but if that is the case for you, if you feel a little aftertaste, maybe the one that comes packed in water will be better. This is the texture that you'll get. So it breaks apart really easily, and it's really soft, almost like a pudding consistency, a little thicker than a pudding consistency. So we're gonna measure half a cup of that softer silken tofu. Press it down to make sure you get the right amount. And the rest, just keep it in an airtight container filled with water in the refrigerator, and you can use it for salad dressings or to make any other recipes where you want a creamy base. So I'm just gonna set this aside. And another thing we're going to be using for this recipe are some dates. So pitted dates, they're gonna act as part of the sweetener for this recipe. They add this incredible caramel-like taste to the brownies. I really love them in this. So all I've done, these are pitted dates, I've just soaked them in water until they become really pliable. That's gonna help your machine run. We're gonna use either a food processor or a blender. At this stage, you'll want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 180 Celsius. And another thing we have to do is we need to cook our sweet potato. So this is just some peeled and cubed up sweet potato, which I've measured out, and I'm going to add it to a pot with some water and a steamer basket on top and add this in. And I'm just gonna bring this water up to a boil and let the sweet potato steam for about 10 minutes or until it's soft. As with most baking recipes, you'll want to mix your dry ingredients together, and we're actually going to puree all of the wet ingredients with the dates and sweet potatoes in a food processor. So I'm adding some gluten-free oat flour and some rice flour. And the rice flour you can substitute for another type of gluten-free flour that you like. We're gonna add some baking powder and some salt. We just whisk together, and we're gonna set this aside until our sweet potato is ready to blend everything up and combine. It's really easy. Let's chop some walnuts. For me, brownies are not brownies if you don't include walnuts, but if you don't like them, you can skip them. Let's add our cooked sweet potato to a food processor or blender. I'm also going to add my drained and soaked dates. And I like to give these an initial pulse before we add the rest of the ingredients. Now we're going to add in our silken tofu, another sweetener, some maple syrup. You can use any type of liquid sweetener that you like. You can use brown rice syrup, agave, anything, but I think maple really goes with the flavors. Some vanilla extract. We need some oil to give these that brownie texture that we all love. So any neutral tasting oil will do. Safflower, sunflower, canola oil, something like that that is very neutral in taste. And although technically a dry ingredient, I like to add my cocoa powder right in here. Now we let this go until it's really creamy. What you should get is this really creamy and silky consistency. So good. All right, let's add this into our dry mix. Once you don't see any loose flour, you know everything's well combined, we're gonna add some of those walnuts, but not all of them, because I love to have some on top for the presentation. So just fold those in, and we're gonna get this in our pan. I'm gonna teach you a little baking secret today. If at any point you're making any dessert recipe and it calls for a pan that is smaller than the ones you have at home, you can use pie weights, AKA dried beans, to make the pan a little bit smaller, which is what I'm going to show you how to do today. So this is just an oven-proof pan. I've lined it with parchment. I want mine a little bit smaller, so I'm going to add my pie weights to one side. And that's going to prevent your pan from getting warped, but it's also going to give you a smaller surface. Let's top with our remaining walnuts. I like to press them down a little bit so that they sink into the batter. Gluten-free batter is a little bit different, so we want these to be able to stick. Now we bake in the oven. Usually between 25 to 30 minutes in the oven will do, but you always want to check by using a wooden skewer or a toothpick and insert it into the brownies and see that the toothpick comes out clean. Remove the brownies by holding onto the parchment paper and let them cool on a cooling rack until they have cooled down, and then you're ready to cut into them and dig in. Look at these babies. Oh, they look perfect, chocolatey, so good. Thank you so much for baking with me today, and I'll see you in the next lesson. That's so good. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This was our last recipe in the course, but in the next short video, we'll show you how you can keep this cooking party going with us and where to go from here.